Have you ever wondered why life feels so different from what we imagined as children? When we are born, we are welcomed with celebration. Our first cry is met with smiles, tears of joy, and dreams of a beautiful future. As children, we laugh freely, dream fearlessly, and cannot wait to grow up. We believe adulthood is where happiness begins. But somewhere along the way, life changes. Dreams collide with reality. Love is sometimes followed by loss. Hope is tested by hardship. And many of us quietly ask a question we've never dared to say out loud. Is this what life was always meant to be? More than 80 years ago, one man was forced to confront that question under circumstances almost impossible to imagine. Stripped of his freedom, separated from everyone he loved, and surrounded by unimaginable suffering, Viktor Frankl discovered a truth that would change millions of lives forever. His story is not just about surviving one of history's darkest chapters. It's about every one of us. Because sooner or later, life asks us the same question it asked Viktor Frankl. When everything else is taken away, what gives life meaning? This is the story of the truth about life that nobody ever told us. The dream we all shared. Every one of us begins life in exactly the same way. Not with fear, not with regret, not with anxiety, but with a single breath and a room full of hope. The day a child is born, the world seems to pause for just a moment. Families gather around a tiny life that has done nothing except arrive, yet somehow becomes the center of everyone's universe. Parents smile through tears. Grandparents whisper prayers. Friends offer congratulations. Cameras capture moments that will be treasured for decades. No one looks into the face of a newborn and says, "One day life will break your heart." No one says, "One day you will lose people you cannot imagine living without. One day you will question your purpose. One day you will carry burdens too heavy for words." Instead, they dream. Because every child is born carrying something invisible. Hope. As children, we know almost nothing about the world, and perhaps that is life's greatest gift. Our happiness is wonderfully uncomplicated. A toy can become an entire universe. A rainy afternoon becomes an adventure. Running through the yard feels like freedom itself. The embrace of a parent can erase every fear we've ever known. Back then, success wasn't measured by money. It wasn't measured by status or by the opinions of strangers. Success was simply another day spent laughing until sunset. Looking back now, many of us realize we were living in the richest years of our lives without knowing it. Not because our families were wealthy, not because life was perfect, but because our hearts were light. Then something begins to change. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, one birthday follows another. School becomes more demanding. The expectations grow. The questions become louder. What do you want to become? What career will you choose? Will you be successful? As children, those questions feel exciting. Growing up sounds like an adventure. Adults seem free. They stay up late. They earn money. They make their own decisions. To a child, adulthood looks like the finish line, so we hurry toward it. We wish the years away. I can't wait until I'm 18. I can't wait to get my own job. I can't wait to have my own life. But life has a quiet irony. The very future we longed for slowly becomes the weight we never expected to carry. The toys disappear. The responsibilities arrive. Dreams meet reality. Friendships change. Love sometimes becomes heartbreak. Parents grow older. Children become caregivers. Bills replace birthdays as the dates we remember most. And somewhere between our first paycheck and our first sleepless night, many people ask themselves a question they never imagined asking. Was growing up supposed to feel like this? The truth is, life rarely unfolds according to the stories we tell ourselves as children. Some people work tirelessly. but never receive the opportunities they deserve. Some discover that success does not silence loneliness. Some lose the people they love far too soon. Some carry illnesses that no one else can see. Others smile every day while silently fighting battles they have never told another soul. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, if you've ever wondered why life seems heavier than you expected, you are not alone. For thousands of years, philosophers, poets, teachers, and ordinary people have wrestled with the same question. Why does life contain so much suffering? Is struggle simply something we must endure, or is there something hidden within it that we fail to see? Most of us spend our lives searching for the answer, but one man would be forced to search for it in circumstances almost beyond human imagination. His name was Viktor Frankl. Long before the world knew his name, he was simply a curious young boy, growing up in Vienna, Austria. He loved asking questions that many people avoided. Why do people lose hope? Why do some people keep living when everything seems lost? What gives life meaning? As he grew older, those questions became his life's work. He studied medicine. He became a neurologist and psychiatrist, dedicating himself to understanding the human mind. Even before the Second World War, Frankl noticed something that deeply concerned him. Many people weren't only suffering because of poverty or illness. They were suffering because they felt their lives had no purpose. He believed that when people could no longer see meaning in tomorrow, they often stopped believing in today. It was a bold idea, one that would soon be tested in the cruelest way imaginable. In 1939, Europe stood on the edge of catastrophe. The clouds of war gathered over the continent. Families who had spent generations building peaceful lives suddenly found themselves living under fear. For Viktor Frankl, the future he had carefully planned began to disappear before his eyes. He had spent years studying how people survive emotional pain. Soon, he would have to discover whether his own ideas could survive unimaginable suffering. History was about to place him inside one of the darkest chapters humanity has ever written, and what he learned there would forever change the lives of millions of people around the world. The year was 1942. The world had become a place where hatred spoke louder than compassion, and fear traveled faster than hope. For Viktor Frankl, life changed almost overnight. Because he was Jewish, he and his family were forced from the life they had built. They were deported to Nazi concentration camps, where people were stripped not only of their belongings, but of their names, their dignity, and in many cases, their families. The future he had imagined disappeared behind barbed wire. His medical career was gone. His freedom was gone. Even the manuscript of the book he had spent years writing was taken from him. Everything he had worked for vanished in a single moment. But the greatest losses were still to come. His father died in the camps. His mother was murdered. His brother never returned. His young wife, Tilly, who was pregnant with their first child, also lost her life. Almost everyone he loved was gone. Imagine waking each morning without knowing if you would eat, without knowing if you would survive the day, without knowing whether the person standing beside you would still be alive tomorrow. The prisoners endured freezing winters, exhausting labor, starvation, disease, humiliation, and constant fear. Many lost hope. Many simply stopped believing there was a future waiting for them. Frankl watched this happen with the eyes of both a prisoner and a psychiatrist. He noticed something remarkable. The strongest people did not always survive. The healthiest people did not always survive. Sometimes, those who endured were the ones who still held on to a reason to live, a memory of a loved one, the dream of seeing home again, a promise they had made, a purpose they refused to abandon. Frankl later wrote that everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That freedom could not be imprisoned. It could not be beaten out of someone. It could not be stolen. Even in a place designed to destroy hope, the human spirit could still make a choice. There were days when Frankl imagined himself standing before students after the war, teaching them about what he had learned. Those imagined lectures gave him something to hold on to. They reminded him that his suffering might one day help someone else survive theirs. When the war finally ended and the camps were liberated, Frankl walked out alive. But he walked into another kind of pain. He learned that almost everyone he loved had died. The life he had once known was gone forever. Many people would have surrendered to despair. Instead, Frankl chose a different path. He sat down and wrote the book that had once been taken from him. It became Man's Search for Meaning, not simply a memoir of survival, but a message to the world. Its central idea was profound in its simplicity. Life does not stop having meaning because it becomes difficult. Pain is not proof that life has no value. Suffering is not something to seek or celebrate. But when suffering cannot be avoided, people still have the ability to choose courage over bitterness, compassion over hatred, and purpose over despair. Frankl's words have reached millions of readers because they speak to something every human being eventually faces. Not everyone will experience the horrors of a concentration camp, but everyone will experience loss. Everyone will face disappointment. Everyone will encounter moments when life asks questions that have no easy answers. Perhaps that is why his story still matters today. It reminds us that while we cannot control every chapter of our lives, we are not powerless in deciding how we live those chapters. Think back to the child you once were, the child who laughed without worrying about tomorrow, the child who believed anything was possible. That child could never have imagined every hardship you would face. But that child also could never have imagined your strength, the storms you survived, the tears you wiped away, the mornings you got out of bed even when your heart felt heavy, the kindness you showed when you were hurting yourself. Those quiet victories rarely make headlines, yet they reveal the extraordinary resilience that exists within ordinary people. Life is not unfair because it contains suffering. Life is human because it contains both joy and sorrow, beginnings and endings, victories and losses. The beauty of life is not found in avoiding hardship. It is found in discovering that hardship does not have the final word. Every sunrise is a reminder that darkness eventually gives way to light. Every act of kindness pushes back against despair. Every reason to keep going, no matter how small, is a declaration that hope is still alive. Viktor Frankl did not teach the world that life would be easy. He taught something far more powerful, that even when everything else is taken away, meaning can remain. And perhaps that is the truth nobody told us as children. Growing up is not about escaping pain. It is about discovering that love is stronger than hatred, that hope is stronger than fear, and that the measure of a life is not how many times we fall, but how many times we choose to rise. So, wherever you are in your journey today, whether you are celebrating a new beginning, carrying a burden no one else can see, or searching for a reason to keep moving forward, remember this: your story is still being written. The struggles you face today do not define the ending of your life. They are only pages, and as Viktor Frankl showed the world, even the darkest pages can give birth to a story that brings light to millions. Because in the end, the greatest meaning of life is not that we escape suffering, it is that we discover the courage to keep loving, keep hoping, and keep living through it.